February 2022. I remembered one of my sculptures. I need to retrieve it before it gets totally neglected. I hope not. February 2022. I'm getting my sculpture from the San Fernando train station museum. It has stayed there for too long, fully air-conditioned, protected from dirt and moisture. February 2022. I remembered one of my sculptures, a robot couple, a couple of war machines, raging to kill, aching for land to till. A man and a woman, riding on a gigantic mechanical industrial robot scorpion. China and Russia, I named that piece. February 2022. I'm retrieving my sculpture from the San Fernando train station museum. I need to get it. The Philippine National Railway's construction work is ongoing. I shall get my artwork before it's too late. I fear it got transferred along with the storage areas that has been moved. I fear my sculpture gets scattered somewhere, neglected, forgotten, accumulating dust and rust, exposed to the rain and rays of the sun. Himpilang daang bakal ng San Fernando. Daang bakal. Metallic road. Pardon my English. I'm just being funny. My artwork should be there. I know it is. It is a major artwork. A major artwork in sculpture. An artwork that is mine. The internet has opened the world to us. With the click of a button, I can Google these countries, China and Russia, both located in Asia, just like the Philippines and Pampanga. Ah, the blessings of the internet. The joy and luxury of visiting different places, including these two countries, albeit virtually. The CGTN of China, the RT News channel of Russia, websites, YouTube channels, I've watched them all. I keep track of what's happening. I keep track of their plannings and scheming. Meteorite. In Kapampangan, it's Taklang Batwin. If translated to Filipino, tae ng Bituin. Then, in the English language, starship. Gaining access to the World Wide Web, I let myself indulge in various online discoveries just to satisfy my bulimic curiosities. I virtually search for various rocks and pebbles. Their patterns always fascinate my childish soul. Their textures, compositions, colors, and irregularities, all a wonder to me. Time came when I started collecting pebbles and rocks, especially metal ores, sediments with various mixtures of metals, including magnets and meteorites. Maybe because I'm a sculptor that I have an affinity with rocks and ores. That is why I love their texture. I observe, touch, and feel, trying to gauge their toughness with my soul. 3 years ago, in 2019, my family visited the San Fernando train station museum. My mother, with my younger sister, my nephew, and my niece. I was not with them. When they arrived home, I was met with a big surprise. Well, lo and behold, my meteorite sculpture was there. They retrieved my artwork from the museum, and I was not aware. My mother said she saw my artwork just lying there in the museum, so she decided to retrieve it and bring it home. I argued that maybe my sculpture was properly taken care of, and maybe, just maybe, there were other works that are presently on display. But she shook her head and said, no, there are none. Renovation activities has begun, she explained, and the guys from the Philippine National Railways have started work there. Looking at the distance, I finally decided I'll bring my Russia and China sculpture back home. Metal cables and wires, copper, aluminum, galvanized iron, and steel, elements and materials I work with, main media that bring my sculptures to the shapes I desire. And then, I apply paint. With myriads of colors, I give them life. But I don't use any ordinary paint. I use only automotive paint, which will suffice. Indoors, outdoors, wet or dry seasons, wherever or whenever they may be, my sculptures can resist them all. But getting acquainted with the World Wide Web, my digital spider sense would tell me that there's no such thing as permanent. Whether I like it or not, all the sculptures that I made will exist for mere decades, centuries if the fates decide. But in the end, all of them will deform, their luster dim, and their bright metallic industrial colors fade away. More so when they are not taken care of. More so with no restoration. More so if they were crushed intentionally by nature and humans alike. my mind starts to have a dark and melancholic imagination. I will be getting my sculpture now. I will use my old mechanical carriage. Anything that is Japanese made, that we have no doubt, sleek in quality, Asian classy, all mirror inherent Nihon culture. Just like the flotsam and jetsam I acquire, all sorts of things, wonderful things, I purchase occasionally at Japanese surplus stores nearby. For our Japanese friends, they treat this stuff as mere solid waste, but not to us Filipinos. We see them not as rubbish, we see them still worth the price. A far cry from the mass-produced commercial rubbish flooding the market. New, cheap, but of low quality. Almost all of them produced by pirates and copycats proliferating, spreading like scum worldwide. A never-ending trade battle ensues. My heart burst with pride with my ride. Whatever trip we may have, city drive, short distances, long distance, across provinces, I imagine that I too have a 25-year-old heart. I daydream while driving that I'm in a cockpit of a Mitsubishi F2, a Japanese multi-role jet fighter. The Ides of March, but unlike Caesar, I have had introspective thoughts, reminding me to retrieve my other sculpture now. But why do I have a couple of works based on battles and fight? I assure you, there's nothing sinister nor weird about it. My thoughts digitally conclude. Online gamers with skirmish plots, spectators that gamble at cockfights and boxing matches, films with violence as the driving element. My sculptures are mostly inspired by various mythologies, where every mythology has its own war history. Odd curiosity plus normal Thanatos drive, for which all of us have. I started feeding this drive 21 years ago. It was on January of 2001 when I started plunging and surfing through the World Wide Web. The year I started working as a public servant of the Philippine government, serving in an agency with a mandate to protect the country's natural resources. My odd curiosity is separated by my Thanatos drive, and as Maestro Ral Arrogante says, artists are conscious in the battle of space. Of me, being a disciple of the arts and sciences, I have regular mental flashbacks of my previous artworks. Other than sculptures, paintings, and studies, I also did a series of public art installations, which pertains to our maritime territory, the realm of Habagat, our ancient northwest wind, the South China Sea, the West Philippine Sea, and surely, Habagat will disagree, of that ridiculous, frivolous, yet jokingly serious 9-dash line. I did a series of outdoor art installations. It was all about the West Philippine Sea, the performance art that I did as part of our band's repertoire. Spray painting on an improvised starred red flag, a public statement to where we stand in this issue of sovereignty. Letting out the curious Thanatos personality, transmutating them into visible matter satisfies me. This is how my system works. This is how I tell my standpoints. Of me, being a disciple of the arts and sciences, visually, I humbly say, for me, it is as effective as it can be. Here it is! I finally retrieved my 9-year-old sculpture. So long ago it seems, back in 2013, images of two robotic human figures appear before me, as if they are cloaked, camouflaged, beneath layers of scaffoldings. Accumulating dirt and dust, sculptures inside the old train station museum, steps away from the public railway's construction debris. Like most of my sculptures, they are made of steel and metal alloy, candy coated with layers of industrial paints. Like most of my sculptures, it is typical for them to be dirty. All they need is a spray of water, have them dry. Again, they will show their luster. Just like life.